Last year, Berkeley Haas awarded $13 million in MBA merit scholarships. Harvard awarded $20 million in need-based scholarships. Why do some people get a scholarship and others not? What types of scholarships are there and how can you get one? We talked to a bunch of former admissions directors and got the inside scoop. This is Business School Scholarships Explained. In this video, we will cover the types of scholarships and financial aid business schools offer and how you can maximize your chances and how you can even negotiate a bigger amount if you have already been offered a scholarship. So there's two types of financial aid you're probably interested in: merit-based scholarships and need-based scholarships. These can come in multiple forms such as a discount on tuition, cash fellowship award, in-state tuition discount, or even an on-campus job. All of these are levers used by business school to motivate and attract the best possible applicants. Business schools might consider loans and internships part of financial aid, which can be confusing, but that's to make the numbers look a little better. First is need-based scholarships. These are pretty easy to qualify for. You just need to be poor and get admitted to Harvard or Stanford. But it's easier to be poor than to get admitted. Only Harvard and Stanford offer need-based scholarships, and as long as you get in and make less than $56,000, which is Harvard's definition of the poverty line, you will be offered some kind of assistance. About half of Harvard's incoming students receive need-based aid, an average amount of $46,000 per year. All you have to do is get admitted. There are three main sources of merit-based scholarships. The first is school-based scholarships. By far, most scholarship dollars are awarded by business schools at the time of admission, but there are even post-matriculation merit-based scholarships we will cover later. Scholarship source number 2 is the consortium. This option is only available to US-based applicants. Finally, we have Forte. Forte is a fantastic fellowship program, but their awards are mostly available only to women applicants. Interestingly enough, consortium and Forte scholarships are primarily funded by business schools, but awarded independently by these organizations. If you qualify for the consortium or Forte scholarship, you should absolutely check them out. You can learn a lot from their respective websites, so we won't be covering them deeper in this video. Outside of these three sources of universities, consortium, and Forte, there's not much other aid available, unfortunately, and all these scholarship search websites promising you access to millions of dollars are usually just clickbait. However, if you know of any scholarships that are legitimate and not covered here, please post them in the comments. As the name suggests, to qualify for a merit-based scholarship, you have to stand out from your peer group, and these are generally awarded based on the strength of your profile, such as GMAT, GPA, work experience, leadership experience, diversity, and other personal characteristics. All schools other than HBS and Stanford offer merit-based scholarships. Most generous programs are based in the US, which frequently award full tuition scholarships to outstanding candidates, while programs in Asia, Europe, and Canada only provide up to 50% and on a modest scale. So if you're looking for a full ride, US-based programs are really the only way to go. Also, keep in mind that the scholarship only covers tuition, so you'll still have to find other sources of funding for housing, living expenses, and the trip to Columbia every school seems to make for reasons I have not discovered yet. So how will you apply for these scholarships? Most of the time, you'll be evaluated for these scholarships automatically, though you'll still want to make sure that you haven't missed any boxes to check on your application. For example, if you apply to Darden, you'll also probably want to write a supplemental essay to be considered for the Batten Scholarship, which provides full tuition and fees. Most schools have a list of merit-based scholarships they offer on their website, so I definitely take a look at that for all schools you plan on applying to. For example, Ross has over 200 scholarships, fellowships, and awards that they award every year, so many that they don't even bother listing them all on their website. So how do schools determine who gets a scholarship? In general, most applicants feel that their merit-based financial aid is determined on what other schools they could be competing with for your admission. For example, Harvard and Stanford don't feel they have to compete with anyone and offer very little merit-based financial aid. The only one we know about is the Knight Hennessy Merit Scholarship, which is something Stanford applicants have to send a completely separate application to. They know, and you know, that there's nowhere better for you to go, even if US News and even our own GMAT Club rankings think differently. By the way, you can check out our own GMAT Club MBA rankings through a link in the description below. After talking with former admissions officers from Booth and Ross thanks to Fortuna Admissions and Avanti Prep, we learned that another important factor is how likely they believe you are to accept the scholarship offer. When scholarship money is put on the table, the school is not able to offer it to another student, and because people think twice about refusing money, that money is stuck. Let's take Mark. He applied in round 1 and was awarded $50,000 in scholarship from Haas in early December. Congrats, Mark. However, there's a good chance this success will motivate Mark to apply in round 2 in early January to see if he can get into Harvard or perhaps get more aid from a peer school such as Fuqua. Mark won't hear from an N7 or Fuqua until March, so he will have to accept the offer and pay the deposit to Haas in February, thus holding the money all the way until after round 2 decisions at Harvard and Haas have been announced. If Mark decides to attend Harvard and notifies Haas about it, this will be only after round 2's decision deadline, and this means now Haas Adcom lost a round 1 applicant and they could not use any of those funds for a round 2 applicant either. This illustration has 2 big takeaways. 1. If you want to maximize your chances of a scholarship, make sure you demonstrate your commitment and appear very excited about the program. As illustrated, Adcoms like to award scholarships to people they think will attend. Takeaway number 2. If you are looking for a scholarship, apply round 1. This is when the most aid is available, and if a school sees a great applicant, they will try to snag them with a scholarship. In a way, to get a scholarship in round 2, you'll have to be better and more impressive than all the round 1 applicants. If you're seeing a merit-based scholarship off the waitlist, or perhaps after admission, it's likely money that was previously allocated to Mark but freed up when he decided to attend another school. So, how much money is available? Unfortunately, schools don't like to release statistics on merit-based financial aid, or it could be hard to find, but some schools like Berkeley will report that they spend $13 million a year and half the class tends to receive a scholarship. However, most of the time, you have to hear about it from self-reported statistics, which will tend to lean heavily towards people who have received financial aid. The best place to find financial aid information is our own GMAT Club decision tracker, where our users will report their scholarship results, which we will have a link to below. Unfortunately, everything is in general self-reported, so keep that in mind when looking up this information. In general, people have adopted the following shorthand for describing scholarship amounts: a single dollar sign, $2 signs, $3 signs, or $4 signs, which each dollar sign indicating about a quarter of the cost of tuition and fees. So, a lot of people might not know this, but you can renegotiate your MBA scholarship. Let's say you are admitted to 2 M7 schools, but one has given you $100K in scholarship. You can go to the other M7 school and there's a fairly high probability they will match your scholarship. Another case is if you are admitted to a school that is considered better, it's often possible to ask for more money from the other school. For example, if you are admitted to both Wharton and Booth without a scholarship, you might ask Booth, "Hey, I got admitted to Wharton also, but I love Booth. Is there any chance I could have my financial aid reconsidered?" Overall, it's important during your negotiation process to focus on competing offers, and especially to focus on your love for the program you are asking for scholarship money from. Remember that admissions officers really want to convert the offers with scholarship money, so you really have to let your love for the school shine. This means that if you are negotiating financial aid, you need to do your best to impress Adcom, and you have several opportunities for this. For example, during the admitted student days, you can impress the admissions team by showing yourself as a leader. Another great thing to do during admitted student weekend is to ask for scholarship consideration in person. Adding a face and personal contact to the request could help a lot. Also, if you're going to negotiate, it helps to be specific in your communication. You'll be much more successful if you have an exact amount you're looking for rather than a vague amount. Remember that schools are highly motivated to spend their full scholarship budget every year. They want to make sure they can use all of it, so starting the conversation about financial aid early when there is funding available is usually better. Finally, we're going to talk about external and post-admission scholarships. External scholarships are possible in some cases, and some schools will offer a list of common scholarship resources students use for finding external scholarship. Here's a picture of Wharton's list, for example. And finally, there are some scholarships and fellowships that are possible after you've already made it to campus. I check for specific information on each school, but example for these kinds of situations would be things like academic excellence during your first semester or first year, or maybe a mentorship fellowship as a second year, though in general, these opportunities tend to be specific to the school as well as highly competitive. Alright, that brings us to about the end of this presentation. It's important to note that a lot of merit-based financial aid tends to be school-specific. We at GMAT Club actually have a fantastic post detailing all the school-specific fellowships that we've seen people get over the years, which you can find linked in the description below. I hope this helps you, and I wish you the best of luck. Thanks for listening, and we hope you catch our upcoming videos about need-based financial aid and overviews for each school soon.